Greetings, everybody. Jared Wade with Yoko Consulting. I'm excited because today is a good day. Joanna is back. We have a new individual. We have Iñaki, who is another designer. He's going to introduce himself here in just a second. But we're talking about design stuff today. We are talking about the white space and making logos bigger and all of the things that probably every designer or creative person has heard at some point in time in their entire life. So without further ado, Joanna, do you mind kicking us off and introducing yourself real fast, letting the people at home or at work, or hopefully if they're on the road, they're just listening. They're not watching, but they're listening if they're driving. Give them a little history on Joanna.
Oh no, we'll be here all day. I'm so old now.
That's why I said a little history, just a little history.
I am Joanna. I'm one of the designers here at Yoko. I'm joining this call from a little place called Montijo near Lisbon. And that's the short version.
Love it.
I will not be 40 this year.
No, never. 35 forever.
I've decided I'm not going to have a birthday this year.
Iñaki, you're brand new to Yoko Co Live. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hello. So happy to be here. I'm Iñaki. I'm currently living in Madrid, Spain. I'm a designer here at Yoko Co as well. I've been here for like 5.5 years now, with background in web design, brand design. I've been designing since I was like 13 years old, so it's been quite the while now. And yeah, just fun fact, I love football. Big football fan, as in, what people call soccer in the US, but the real kind of football. And yeah, just happy to be here and chat design.
I was gonna say you mentioned football, and I was like, we have a lot of US folks, so want to make sure that we clarify. What you feel like a soccer player? Did you play football or soccer? Interchangeable word right there. When you were younger, do you still play now?
Yeah, I still play. Obviously not at the level that I played before. I played semi-professional. That was the highest that I've gotten to. And I played semi-pro up until amateur up until last year.
Oh wow, that's a lot of cardio. Soccer is or football is a lot of cardio.
The knees are feeling it. The ankles are feeling it. Like now.
Joanna, you've got some athletic abilities as well. We were talking about before we started the stream. You are getting ready to go for your brown belt. Is that correct?
I will try to do finally my brown belt in Krav Maga this year.
That's exciting.
If I don't get injured before, that's always a possibility.
There's that positive attitude that we love so much, Joanna.
Sorry, my right knee hurts, so that's the mood. But yeah.
Well, hopefully your knee holds up. Hopefully you are able to do all of the moves that you need to do to achieve the brown belt. Next time you come on, then you can show off the brown belt. You can say, "Hey, check this out. This is."
I get it. I bought it. I don't know. Did I buy it? Did they give it to me? I don't know.
Look what I got on Temu, everybody. It's like an off brown. It's just a light color, which would probably drive you nuts as a designer. Okay, let's jump into it. Iñaki, so glad that you're here. Joanna, so glad that you're back. Today is going to be a fun one because I think it's going to be kind of a classic in the repertoire of Yoko Co Lives. We want to kind of take an approach to these episodes to help fully give some education. And there are questions that the designers get asked quite frequently. And we thought, hey, you know what? Let's take some time and dig into these questions that we get asked on a repeated basis. Things like, hey, can we make the logo bigger? Or, what's up with all the white space and all the space that's around? These are things that Iñaki and Joanna are going to talk about. But before we jump into that, I thought I would ask, maybe Joanna, you could take this one. There might be, and you can tell me if I'm completely off base here, but when you get into design and you get into art and you get into creativity, there sometimes is a stigma that is connected to that, where folks might think, hey, this is a creative process for this other individual. This is something that they're they've created from the ground up. I don't want to tell them, what to do or how to do, because maybe they're a little bit sensitive, or, this stuff happens just by magic or whatnot. So I was wondering if you could give us maybe a peek behind the curtain when it comes to when people have feedback and when they have insights and they want to share that with you, how can they do that? Or, should they not? What is that approach, and how does it look like?
We go from I don't want to say anything to just make the logo bigger. The spectrum is all of that. I mean, of course, it's magical. It's not. When we go into design, and I think the only reason sometimes people might get pushback from a designer when they give us feedback, it's because it's not something magical, and it's not our sensitivity. It's the idea that the design is, our child or something like that, and being offended or calling my child an ugly child or something like that. It's not that. It's our job and it's our work, and it has a lot of research and a lot of not only just experience, but looking at the best solutions and looking how things should be done and serve the goals of the project the best way possible. So I think when people find pushback, it doesn't come from a place of hurt from the designer being hurt or sensitive to what you're saying. It comes from there are reasons and whys that we decided to do X, Y, and Z. And if those whys or reasons aren't clear enough when we're giving feedback, then we'll feel the need to explain the why. If it's right or if it's wrong, or if it's up to interpretation in terms of if it's working well or not. That's then what the conversation is about. But it's because it is technical and analytical work that we do, not just the execution part, but what comes before, and even the exploration during the iteration during the design stage.
Gotcha. So if there's somebody that's watching and they're like, hey, we're concerned or we're nervous about pushing back a little bit, you're coming from a place of strategy, it sounds like, more than a place of creative artistic expression.
Yeah, I guess, we come from a place of strategy and working experience, like I said. It doesn't mean that the creative side, which I prefer to call divergent thinking, when you're trying to make connections with things and kind of add a little bit more to it. But we try to marry. We're not aiming for delight. We're aiming for efficiency, and then marry it with delight if possible, right? Without sacrificing efficiency. I think that's what we usually tend to do. That's the challenge of the job. Awesome. So I think when people give you feedback, it's better if people understand the work that there is behind, so they're not afraid to hurt you, or they're not doing it to hurt you. They're trying to find out the reason why, and not just knock it down without trying to understand or giving you the chance to give away your expertise.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Okay, Iñaki, this is when we pass it over to you. We're going to talk about that first one that you probably get asked quite a bit, which is the logo. Can we make the logo bigger? Can we make it, take up the entire page? I know probably I have said that to a designer at some point in time, not knowing and not understanding the full gambit that goes into it. I know that people that are watching this have probably said that at some point in time. So kind of a two-part question here. First, like where does that instinct of, hey, can we make the logo bigger come from? And then second part of the question would be, why is that maybe the wrong call to make?
Yeah, that's a great question. And if I can just share my screen, I can kind of walk us through this. Beautiful.
I love it.
Mythbusters.
That's a great image. We're going to share that image and probably not get sued or anything like that, because there's somebody watching, somebody from Mythbusters.
This will be the new background for our website.
I'm going to use that as my profile picture.
Oh my gosh.
So let's chat a bit about making the logo bigger.
Yeah.
So the first thing you mentioned, I think the first part of that is when a client wants the logo to be bigger, part of that is because they think that making the logo bigger will strengthen the brand presence. And what actually happens is it becomes the largest item in terms of like hierarchy, and it pulls attention away from the actual content of the page. So if we take a look at this screenshot, for example, from Stripe, the first thing that your eye goes to is that top left section, right? It's like a billboard ad that's just screaming out at you. It's like, this is Stripe, this is our website. And it's distracting from the actual content, right? So if we take a look at the actual Stripe website, now you can see it's a lot more balanced. Your eye is focused on the content itself. The logo is there, the branding is there. The user knows that they're on the Stripe website, but it doesn't distract from the overall experience, right? And that's the main core item that the users want. The users are coming to your site to learn, to scroll through the site, to scan things. If the logo is the most important thing there, then the site kind of loses that purpose. Same applies if, for example, you have a very tall logo that's not horizontal and you want that to be bigger. That also takes up quite a bit of real estate on the top of the page. And not only is it distracting, not only is your eye going to the top left side, but now on every single page, you have this massive gap at the very top on every single page. And again, if I were to show you how the original site looks, you can see it's a night and day difference. Like from this to this, you know it's there. You know you're in the Coca-Cola site, but here the audience and the users are focused on the actual content itself instead of that big logo, and it makes a better impact than just making a bigger logo. It actually strengthens your brand by making it smaller rather than making it bigger. And I know that sometimes that happens when we have certain associations that use acronyms, and they might have the name of the associations spelled out in small letters. And the reason they want that logo bigger is so that is actually readable. And so instead of making that logo just massive, what we would recommend is to instead have some sort of alternate logo, or even a web only logo that can sort of fit in that horizontal space, isn't too large, but can actually be readable by your users. But yeah, I think that's the main core issue there. I mean, the logo is there to just identify the brand, but not dominate the layout itself.
So a follow-up question, and this is for either one, Iñaki or Joanna, who wants to take this one. When you have a team, or like a lot of individuals that we work with, they're a part of a committee or they've got a board. So it's not just their decision that is going into it. It's they've got a board of 7 or 15 people, but then there's also 15 people or whatnot on the leadership team. So you've got 30 people that are all giving their input into, hey, we need to make the biggest impact possible, and we want it to be big and in the faces of everybody that goes to the website. How do you, or do you have like a go-to way to explain what you're saying, Iñaki, in regards to, the size really does matter, and the formatting matters. But if they're super attached to their logo and they're like, we spent X amount of dollars on this logo, we want to use this logo. I think, Iñaki, you had a beautiful idea of do a web only design for the website that helps with that horizontal element of it. But like, what's a really great go-to way to help those individuals explain it to those larger committees and groups of people?
Yeah. Joanna, do you want to chime in, or do you want me to
Go on.
continue? Okay. So I will say in that case, instead of having it be this massive thing on the header, maybe perhaps a better solution would be to use the banner for that, to call out, hey, we've got this new nice rebrand, come check it out, and maybe link to a page where you have sort of a brand identity like guidelines, and just go through the entire rebranding and how they got to that logo and kind of explain the story. And I feel like that would be a much better way of showcasing that than just making that logo be massive at the top of the page.
Love it.
Yeah, I think what we said, Jared, about people spend a lot of money on this logo. We really want to show it, like Iñaki said, giving it the right place and space when we're talking about a website, which is not just about the logo. I think people tend to put a lot of pressure on that logo that you pay so much. The poor logo doesn't need to be working so hard in every single page, because it is on the navigation. It will be on every single page. It will be there at the size that you decided when you decide to make it bigger. And another thing that we also do when we do rebrands is when offer logo flexibility, like Iñaki said, have different layouts for your identity, for your logo identity, that fit different applications. And there is a specific case, it's totally different to use your logo on a stamp or a badge or on a navigation. And you can picture it in your head that a badge would probably be circular, and the navigation is always going to be a bar, right? So the way it will fit is going to be totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've kind of teed up beautifully the next big conversation point here, which is, and I'm going to kind of merge a couple different ones together, but hey, can we put everything in the navigation, or can we get more information above the fold? I think underneath both of those, there's kind of a fear that goes along with it. If a user has to scroll or they have to click through something, they're going to give up on that journey and in that process. So, I'm going to throw it to Joanna first, because you kind of led us into this navigation conversation, and then Iñaki, please chime in with feedback and insight. But is that fear justified? Like, is that a when you hear that from clients and they're like, hey, we want to put stuff above the fold and we want to put more into the navigation, how do you approach that from a designer's perspective?
So that's
by the way, great cat. Just want to call that out right now with the crown. That's fantastic. So sorry, Joanna, go for it.
No. I love the cat too. I've been having a lot of fun looking at these slides, but there's two different things there. So overpacking the navigation is a problem, because you will be overloading the attention that the user has. The navigation is there to support you and to guide you through the main pages of your website, and then obviously you'll go down levels as much as your interest or your task, whatever you need to accomplish on that website needs to take you. But I mean, no one likes to browse through a list of 10, 20 things when you need to find one, right? What I would do probably is just use a search if someone gave me that many options. And there are studies and heuristic laws about this, like the maximum items that you could probably retain on your short-time memories. 6 items is something like that. I'm sorry if I'm saying something wrong, but I know the number. I don't know if the law is exactly this one, but it is a principle that you should take, that you're not overloading visually the navigation, because you will actually be working against helping your users find what you want them to find or what they need to find. It depends on the goal of the website. And in terms of the fold, I've played the part of saying you cannot have everything that you want above the fold. It's just not possible. Sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes it's not going to look great and it's not going to work well, but sometimes it's really impossible. Like, there's no more space. The only thing I think I would be worried about the fold is if people don't know that there is something else. So like that, exactly like that. So you can see there's something else. It's speaking. You will scroll. I like to say that I used to see my daughter, who wasn't 1 year yet, and this was the year of COVID. So she saw us on our phone a lot, and she was only a baby. She was scrolling already. I was like, "What are you doing?" Gary would say, "Oh, she's not walking yet." Yeah, but we've been scrolling more than we have been walking because we're in lockdown. So no, she was scrolling. She knew what to do, right? So people will scroll. It's just, the only worry is if they know that they can scroll and they will see something. That's, I think, the only concern that you would have. So we can stop overlapping.
And Iñaki, I'd love to hear your input on this as well. And then as you kind of give your insight, if you don't mind, I know there's probably going to be some folks that are like, you're using terminology, you're using some jargon here of the fold. I don't understand exactly what that means or what that is. I think your first slide hinted on it just a little bit, but as you give your feedback and your insight here, if you could just like give a real quick high level, hey, this is what we mean when we say the fold.
Yeah, for sure. So What we're referring to as the fold is the full screen size. So when you land on the site, we can see on your screen at a given time, say for example, you're on a laptop, right? You don't have that big of a screen. Like some of us are using like these ultra wide monitors, but when you have like this laptop, you don't have that much space. And so it's everything that you can see just when you land on the page, not anything that's when you're scrolling down or anything like that. It's just right when you land on the page, what do you see? So anything that's below that is below the fold. And so I think one of the reasons why clients come back to us and tell us that they want things above the fold is this misconception that they're worried that users won't scroll. And so they try to fit all that important information into that first screen. And that's where it becomes overcrowded with text, buttons, links, images, sliders. Like it just becomes crazy. Instead of providing clarity, it just overwhelms users. And a good example is, for example, this screenshot right here, where you can see we have, like Joanna mentioned, all these like different navigation items. And so a client might put all these there and think, okay, this is going to actually make navigation a lot easier for users. But it's like if you go to a restaurant, they give you like this nice menu with 5 items. It's really easy to choose one of those 5 items. But if the menu includes 50 items, you're going to spend quite a lot of time figuring out exactly what it is that you want. And so same thing applies here, where actually like having less is more in all scenarios. Joanna mentioned like the attention span of 6 items. Research has shown that 5 to 7 items is the sort of sweet spot for navigation items. And I know some associations might be thinking like, okay, but we have a lot of things that we need to show. How can we reduce that to 5 to 7 items? And the trick there is to actually use things like mega menus, right? Because a lot of associations are divided, like they have all these like little subgroups that need to be shown equally. And they all want to be present. They all want to be shown at the same time. And these mega menus help support that. So for example, here in the Asana site, if someone wants to go into learning support, they have everything nice, split up, organized, and everything's easier to find than if someone just gets thrown this at them.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the biggest things to just keep an eye out for. Same applies for like the hero banner, right? Sometimes we get the request to make the hero banner a lot smaller to fit in more content above the fold, whereas that hero banner section is made so that the user can land here, know exactly what they are. Like for example, here we have the operations page for Asana. And so the user can come in here, see what this is about. If it interests them, cool. They will scroll down the page. They will find the information that they want, but in a nice clean format. If they come in here and this does not interest them, they will just click out and go somewhere else. But they can at least know exactly where they are in a clean format. And that way decide then what decisions they want to take and easily know where they are on the site.
I was going to say just one thing, Jared, because you're saying some people might know what the fold is. It's the news. It comes from the newspapers. When they're folded. That's why it's called the fold. When newspapers were folded and they were all stacked. Like you can see how old I am. The headlines. So what was above the fold was really important to make people to pay for the newspaper. We're talking about digital now, and this is where the name comes from. Sorry, I don't know if this is interesting, but I think it's funny.
Hey, it relates to the terminology, and I think I heard that one time, and then it's always stuck with me. Like the fold is the fold of the newspaper. What is above that? And you're absolutely right. Like in that front page is somebody's going to look, like with the Asana example here, somebody is going to look at this and hopefully they should be able to figure out, what is this and why should I care about it? And if they can't, then that home section, that hero section needs to be reevaluated. But that's for another conversation and that's for another time. And I think you guys have done a fantastic job of simplifying that. Now, again, with the Asana example here, I see a lot of open space, if you will. And there's probably, that might be maybe one of the biggest questions that I've heard designers receive is, hey, there's too much white space. or another option around that, which is, hey, can you make this pop more? Can you make the website jump out and do more? Boom, pop, pow, right there. I love it. I love slides. This is fun having slides. We don't normally have slides. This is fun. So I'm going to ask you both this question. When you hear those words of, hey, there's too much white space, or can we make this pop? In your mind, what is happening? Like, what are you hearing? And maybe what should the person asking the question, what do they need to understand?
Joanna, want to kick it off?
I can. What I hear in my mind is, oh no, not this again.
It's an honest answer. I appreciate that.
I mean, sometimes it might be justified. We do tend to balance it as much as possible to a purpose, right? Because if you want people to receive information in an efficient way, part of that information being efficient is how you deliver it, how it looks on the layout. And the white space is needed to create hierarchy and groups on that layout, to group content when things are closer together, to separate content when things do not belong together on the page. It has a lot to do with Gestalt laws of proximity, etc. So your perception, how you perceive things that are close together and that are apart. Now, I have felt during my time as a designer, sometimes people are tightening up the space as much as they would if they were paying for paper, and they are not paying for pixel on the web. So that's one thing. But what I like to say, to simplify things very, very clearly, is that white space is as important as, the space between words is important for you to be able to read a sentence, or for you to be able to understand what I am saying. If I start talking really, really fast without cadence, which I sometimes do, and I do most of the times, but someone that talks really fast and doesn't pause to breathe probably drop down in a minute when the air is gone. But pauses are really important, and white space and layout is part of that, of delivering a message efficiently with proper and appropriate space and pauses, so the layout kind of makes sense and the content is grouped together well. So most of the time, if you've got a little bit more white space or black space, I don't know, it depends on the layout, but we call it white space, right? Most of the time it is there for a reason, and it is there serving a purpose on the layout. Sometimes it is attacked, and it might just make unbalance the layout or make something less perceptible. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. And Yaki, anything you want to add into that? Because I think that I think Joanna is hitting the nail on the head, especially when it comes to, like, hey, what are these requests actually doing to the design? And I don't think that there's anything in any form or fashion of maliciousness happening from any client that asked this. It's genuinely, hey, we're not designers, but this is something that we think that we want. So, in turn, it could be hurting the design process versus trying to fix it. But anyway, I would love to hear, Iñaki, from kind of your perspective as well. What are some approaches that or some insights that you can give?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Joanna pretty much nailed it, like you said. Like the purpose of white space is to guide the eye, to create hierarchy, to improve readability, and a lot of times it's referred to as dead space when that's actually not the case. I pull up this example, and this side I've pretty much reduced all the white space. So now looking at this, you can't tell, like, if this is meant to be together with this and this and this. Like, is it all one cohesive group? Am I supposed to be reading this first, and then this second, and then this third, and this fourth? Like, you really can't tell because there's no white space to give you that signal and to tell you where to look at and where the hierarchy is at. But if we were to add in that white space, you can see how now the entire design can breathe, like Joanna mentioned. It's not gasping for air anymore. You can see that things are grouped up because of the white space. So now you can see that, for example, this top section and this card section below it are part of one group. And because we have this larger gap down here, you can tell, okay, this is one thing, and this down here is now a new row. It's something different. It's not part of this group at the top. And so as you scroll to the side, you can say, okay, I need to read this first. I need to read these 3 cards that are linked to that, and then I can go to the next group. Or maybe if you're just scanning through the page, you can easily scan through and see, okay, this is together. It doesn't interest me. I can keep going down. Let me read this headline. Does it interest me? If not, I can keep reading down. And it provides that nice hierarchy throughout the entire site.
I love that. I think that, go
sorry.
for it, Joanna.
Did you notice how much white space was on Iñaki's delivery compared to mine? I was talking so fast, I almost out of breath. That's
Well, so I was getting ready to say, I think a really beautiful analogy that you put in there was white space is like breathing. Like you have to, in speaking or reading, there are pauses for a reason. Sometimes that's there to drive home a specific point, or sometimes it's there to, give a more visual impact. So like when you get those requests, hey, we want this to pop. Well, maybe the white space helps make something pop more because it's the center of attention, and we don't need to put more fill in the blank here, colors or anything like that. We're going to make that the center point of the conversation. It's like when you're having a conversation with somebody and there's a topic, there's a focus, there's a core reason why you're having that conversation. So I think it's a really beautiful connection between the two. And I know it's very helpful to be able to remember things in formats like that. So when they're thinking about their website, hey, their website's having a conversation with the person that's looking or that's reviewing the website. So we want to make sure that we're thinking about it as a conversation piece. There's going to be information going one direction, and then they're going to maybe send a request and ask go do a search or things of that nature. So I think that's a really, really wonderful way of going about that.
And I'll just chime in real quick on the whole make it pop conversation.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we also get this request of, make my design pop, make these elements pop. And what that does a lot of times is, or what it entails is adding a bunch of colors, adding a bunch of extra design elements. And that also ruins the hierarchy. So whereas before looking at this, okay, this is the first thing to read. This is second thing. This goes third after that. With all these different colors, your eye doesn't know where to look. And it goes for the most bold object that they can find. So in this case, the first thing that your eye looks at are these 3 cards. And then it's like, okay, do I read up here or do I jump down here? Because this is a lot more vibrant than what's up here. And so we go this, then second, then third, and then it goes down here, right? It creates a bit of a mess just for the sake of having more vibrancy and just making things pop all over the site. And if you make a good analogy is if you make everything pop, then nothing really pops. It's like if you're highlighting every single sentence in a book, then really nothing is highlighted. And so that's just another thing to point out as well, because it's also a request that we get quite a bit.
If everything is bold, nothing is bold.
Exactly.
If everything you have to do today is urgent, what is urgent?
That's true.
It's all the same.
That's awesome. As we start to wrap things up, first, let me just say, Iñaki, first timer, you're doing wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Joanna, as always, you are fantastic. Last question that I've got to both of you as we, put a nice little bow tie on this. We've talked about a lot of different things today. I think you both have done a fantastic job of kind of summarizing and giving that perspective from a designer standpoint. There are going to be folks that are watching this that are getting ready to enter into that design process. Maybe they're in the early stages of a website rebuild or a rebranding process. But it feels like it's not about somebody being wrong or somebody being right. It lands more into that communication realm and making sure that dialogue is happening and two-way communication is happening. So if there is somebody that's watching and they're going into a new design process in the next week or month or 6 months to a year or whatnot, what would be your encouragement? What would your piece of advice be to them as they enter into this new phase?
Do you want to go first or want me to go, Joanna?
Go, Iñaki.
Okay, I got you. I would say we're all on the same team. like we are all working towards the same objective, which is creating a beautiful new site. And our goal is to try to bring the clients or our partners' vision to life, while at the same time following best practices and making sure that their users get the best experience possible. It is a full-on like collaborative process. So, as long as we trust each other and trust each other's strengths, then that process becomes a very enjoyable one, I think.
Joanna?
Yeah, and again, in terms of how to deal with the design team, like to go back to your first question, like designers are not like weird creatures, mythical creatures, magical creatures. We're doing technical work like the other parts of project. So I think just think about that when you're giving feedback. Maybe this is an attitude that I have with even as a designer, to the other colleagues at the teams, like, why is it this way? I need to understand it, so I have a better vision of what's happening or why this is presented the way it is. Was this the only way? So coming from from a place of respect, when you're looking at something, if you feel like you haven't been heard, maybe something was missed out, not necessarily because of the designer, but something else might have not gone the right way. Making sure that the team is aligned with the project goals and objectives, right? Not pleasing, like say that you are the client. I'm not here to please you as a client. We all have, like Iñaki said, the same objectives and the same goals, which is the goals of the project and serve the audience of the website. So if we're all on board and aligned with that, I think things go a lot more smoothly. So it's all about setting the goals and having good communication, right?
Yes. I'm very pro that. Very pro alignment on the front end. If you are getting ready to enter into a new website design phase or era of your organization, we would love to talk with you. Please feel free to reach out, yokoco.com. That's yokoco.com. That is the fastest and easiest and bestest, and that's a real word now because I'm using it. It's the bestest way to reach out to us. We'll be happy to get in contact with you. And if there's any way that we can support you, we would absolutely love to do that. And Iñaki, Joanna, you both are wonderful human beings. I appreciate you both being on here with me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you're watching, enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. So with that, bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.